Mario, Ruby, let's go. Let's go.
Come on, let's have a candid conversation. Let's talk about it. Just bring it up, we got hope and love.
Yeah.
It's all about you and your well-being. The candid conversation show. Let's go, let's talk about
Hey,
it.
let's talk, let's walk it out. Let's talk, walk it out.
It's all about you.
Let's walk it out. Let's talk.
Hello, and welcome to Talk About It, the Candid Conversation Show with Muriel,
And Ruby.
where we discuss topics that are unspoken and taboo in our community. We are excited to have a candid conversation with Marquis McKenzie. We will be discussing his journey after prison, entrepreneurship, and rights restoration.
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Thank you. Pleasure
How you
to be.
feeling?
I'm blessed. How about you guys?
Blessed
Great.
and highly favored.
That's right, that's
Amen.
right. Marquise, we see everything that you're doing out in the community and we're so proud of you.
Thank
We're going
you.
to talk about that later, but we want to talk about how was it like growing up in your household?
Definitely. So growing up in my household, it was fair. I grew up with both parents, and when I always start my story off, I say that because they say when you have both parents in the household, you're supposed to be this perfect child, but
Right.
unfortunately that wasn't me. But I had a fair household. I grew up with two brothers. My mom was a correctional officer.
Okay.
Even though we kind of migrated from the projects into Pine Hills area, we still was one of the fortunate kids.
Yes.
Grew up with all of the Jordans, the latest game sisters. So I had a fair household.
Okay.
No reason for the path that I went down,
Right.
but it was a fair household.
Okay, that
Very
is
good.
great.
And-
But you shared a story with us about how you had a .38 caliber and you robbed somebody.
Right.
What happened?
So at
Because you
the-
had a fair household, remember? You
Right.
said that. So what happened?
Right, so at that age, I was about 15 years old, right?
Okay.
And at that point, I decided to give up on life. I tried sports, I tried school, and it just wasn't for me, right? And growing up as an African American, sports was one of the things that we thought was going to get us out of our situation.
Right.
But unfortunately, that didn't work, and I didn't have a plan B. So that plan B deterred me to want to be in the streets.
Yes.
And I said by the time I get to the age of 30, I wanted to be the biggest drug dealer. If I just turned 30 and I'm not the biggest drug dealer, right? So it was some type of turning point that I had to go through in my life.
Okay.
And at that point, I decided to go on a robbing spree and commit various crimes. And that
By
cost me-
yourself or were there other people
It
involved?
was other people, but
Okay.
majority it was me who was influencing
You were the lead.
other people.
You were the lead guy.
I was the youngest and I was the lead, which
Yeah.
was kind of crazy. And at that point, it gave me a lot of power, and it just gave me a rush for it to
Exactly.
see that type of attention. And I made the wrong decision at an early age. So.
And where did that land you?
In a place that I didn't want to go, right? So at that very early age, and it's crazy because I rarely tell this part of my story. I remember one day sitting out on my porch and I seen a lady ride past me and I was like, this lady looked good, right? And then I was looking at the sky laying on the ground and I had heard a car come back up and it was the same car.
Okay.
I was like, wow, and the lady told me to come here. So I was like, what? And when I got there, she was crying and she was like, I don't know you, but you don't know me, but God told me that you're going to get ready to go through some things.
Oh,
And
my.
that he's going to be with you every step of the way. And I didn't have any clue
What she was talking about.
Of course.
And a month later, I found myself being arrested for a robbery charge, and I got charged as an adult on
Oh,
my very
wow.
first offense.
And you were 15.
15 years old.
That's young. Now tell us, what did that feel like at 15, being fingerprinted, handcuffed, booked, putting
Right.
the uniform on?
So it was embarrassing, right? Because I did 21 days in the juvenile justice department. I thought I was going to go home like any other juvenile. We do 21 days and that was it, right? But I
Not
was up
this
for a
time.
rude awakening, right? And I say it was embarrassing because my mom worked at 33rd
Right.
Orange County. So I had
Oh,
to find
my
myself
goodness.
being booked where she where she worked
Oh,
at.
my God.
So it was
Embarrassing.
very embarrassing for her and me myself. But reality didn't kick in until the first day I actually got to the back of the mods and I seen a 14-year-old come back with a life sentence, right?
Oh, my.
And I thought it was a joke, right? And to the second day, I seen a 16-year-old come back with a 75-year sentence.
Oh,
and
my
that's
goodness.
when I realized I made
This
a
is
big
no joke.
mistake.
Yeah.
Definitely. So at that very point, I had a reality check, and I realized that I knew I wasn't going to go to prison forever, but I knew that I had to
You had
change
to
the
go.
way that
Oh,
I was
yeah.
thinking before I came in, before I get out.
So, behind bars, you hear that clink, clink. what are you saying to yourself? I know you said I'm in big trouble, but
Definitely.
what are you saying to yourself here you are at 15 years old. 15 years old, you're not supposed to be in prison?
Right.
That's not supposed to happen.
So it was a reality check to me, right? But what more of it, at that point, I knew that I was going to prison, right? And my charge, it considered a firearm. And the only thing I can remember is growing up passing these big signs that said 10-20 life, right?
Yeah.
If you use a firearm, if you pull a firearm, you shoot someone, right? So I was
That's
like,
stuck
all right.
in your head, huh?
Right. And so I was like, well, I fall up under the first category. I had a firearm, 10 years. So I was like, all right, I could do 10 years.
Right.
And at
Oh my
that very early age, I was like, I'm going to take 10. I'll be 25 when I come out, and I'll still be young. So my mind was set to do 10 years and just come on.
So at 15 years old, sitting in prison, what the heck was going on in your mind? Like, this wasn't a smart thing to do.
Right. And seeing other kids being charged at a higher rate, it was kind of scary. But more of it wasn't scary about my protection, because at that time, again, it was a lot of kids that I grew up with, African-American kids that was being sent to adult prison at any rate higher than any other race. And also it's a fact that the state of Florida sent more kids to adult prison than any other state. So I was incarcerated So I was incarcerated with a lot of other kids that I grew up with, but I was more worried about my family and their safety, because in being in the state of Florida, if you're incarcerated, if somebody in your family passed away, you can't attend the funeral.
Really?
None of that. And
I
if
thought
you
maybe
do-
with that they would let you.
No, and even if you could, it comes with a very high price tag.
Really?
And the last time that I checked, it was almost about anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 per guard that you would have to purchase to be able to go. And depending on your charge, you may
You're not
have to
going to
have
nobody's
5
funeral.
guards. Right, that's a $15,000 tab.
No.
Higher than it costs to bury somebody.
Right.
No,
So.
no, you're not going.
So yeah,
That's awful.
yeah.
And so you're sitting in prison. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to get 10 years? Do you feel that you'll get off earlier?
Right, so I didn't have any hope that I was going to get less than 10 years, right? And the reason why is because my state prosecutor, she wanted me to receive 10 years.
She was tough. Had you been in trouble with the law before?
My first time ever been. So I had a prior incident, but I didn't get incarcerated.
Okay.
I just run in with the officers. In that case, I got totally dismissed. But this was my first time, like being incarcerated, having anything on my record. But she was like some angry lady. Like every time I came in, I was 15 years old. She would come in the courtroom and mug me the whole time. So I was scared. So I was like, I know I ain't getting nothing but less than 10 years.
Goodness.
But I applied myself and got a part of different programs in there, hoping that those programs was going to help me. They helped me mentally, and they somewhat helped me out in court as far as not getting those 10 years.
You know, there's a question that just keeps going through my mind. It keeps going through my mind as, why? Because you said you had a fair childhood. You had both of your parents. Your mother was in the correction facility. You had other brothers, other siblings.
Right.
Were they doing crimes and things as well?
No.
Just you.
Okay, my older brother was very good at sports, right? And my younger brother, he was kind of too young to kind of determine what he was good at. But when sports wasn't working for me, I didn't have any other option.
Right.
Like, we didn't sit down at the table and talk about if you don't make it to the pros, or
This
if you
is
don't
what-
make it in high school. And the crazy thing about it, I made the high school basketball and football team. But that wasn't enough for me, I guess. I wasn't getting the attention that I was
that's what I
seeking at
about
that
to
early
say.
age. And
Do
it
you
just
feel you were searching for attention from your parents?
somewhat,
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah.
But my mom was always busy. My dad was
that's
always
working.
busy, so it's
Yeah,
like
became rebellious.
became rebellious,
Yeah.
and I got where I got that attention from was running the streets and got glorified for doing
Of
some of the
course.
stuff. So it gave me kind of a big head attention, and it went over my head a little too much.
Well, being in the prison, and I know it's not a nice place to be,
Definitely.
what did you get out of it?
So if I got out of anything,
Yes.
right, I found my passion, right, and
Okay.
that was cleaning.
Okay.
Growing up in a household, my mom always used to make us clean. Like, she used to pull out the refrigerator, pull out the stove, make us
Clean
clean
this.
behind it. And she actually taught us how to clean with dirt. My mom is from Georgia, and
Okay.
some weird thing that they do up there, they with actual dirt. But I found my passion for my business, starting a cleaning business. So when I was at
Okay.
a prison, when I was in Orange County Jail, I was the houseman, and every time I used to clean, for some reason, it made me feel at peace, but never knowing that that's what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
And when I got to prison, I was at a youth offender account, and it was called a gladiator account because it
Okay.
was always fights, crazy
Right.
stuff going on. And they took away a lot of our rights from us, right? And
Okay.
they said the way that you could earn those rights back, get visitation, get canteen, you had to clean and you had to compete against the other dorms.
Oh, okay.
And for 6 months straight, my dorms came in first place because of me. So if I learned anything out of prison, I found my passion, and that was cleaning, and it helped me physically because I started a business, but mentally it helped me. If you help you clean up yourself and you help other people clean themselves, you can help change their life. So that's what I got out of that.
So did you ever finish high school? Were you able to finish school in
Yep.
prison?
So I actually graduated. I was supposed to graduate 2008, the same year that I came home from prison. But
Okay.
I actually got my high school diploma in 2007. So
Oh, okay.
GED inside of it, and that was a
good.
part of my guidelines for
Okay.
me to not to get the 10 years. I had to come back in front of the judge with
Oh.
my GED. So
So you did everything that they
Yeah,
they
asked
said,
for.
probably even more.
So how long did you stay?
So I stayed in Orange County Jail for 16 months, going
Mm-hmm.
back and forth to court. I had a fair judge. He passed away, late Bob Waters.
Okay.
I always got to give him recognition because he was a very fair judge.
Okay.
And his words to me before he passed away was that I'm not going to send you to prison for 10 years, but I do think you got to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And he gave me a 24-month sentence,
Okay.
which I only had to go to prison for about 9 months.
Okay.
And the rest of it
Wow.
was 4 years probation. So I got sentenced as a youth offender plea. And what a youth offender plea means in the state of Florida that your sentence can't go over 6 years.
Oh,
So I could
okay.
have received all 6 years in prison. It could have been all 6 years on probation. Either way, just a 6-year sentence, and I get 2 in and 4 out, with the possibility of 2 years terminated early for good behavior. So I did that as well.
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but thank goodness you were 15.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you were an adult,
It was much heavier.
if you were
Yes.
18 plus,
Yep.
then
And sometimes, depending the situations, we've seen it, depending on the judges, depending on the state prosecutors, they'll hold a lot of juveniles to the age of 18 and then sentence them a little harsher.
Oh,
So that's a lot of
wow.
stuff that they'll do sometimes as well.
well, those were prayers for sure
I know.
for
Definitely.
you.
Goodness grief, I know your parents were very happy.
Definitely was.
So tell us the transition. What happened when you got out of prison?
So by the time I got out of prison, the good thing about it in the Orange County Jail at that time, our program director, he was John Richter. And John Richter knew a lot of people, and he believed in second chances and
Yes.
trying to show us a different
Thank
and
goodness.
change our minds. So he used to bring in people from AA. We went to
Okay.
a lot of AA programs. None of us needed, well, some
Right.
kids did, but just still went in and learned the aspects of it, yoga, poetry, a lot of those things. So before I even went to prison, my mindset was completely changed, and I kind of already grew a plan. So I came home running with that plan. But the biggest things for my success was I had support. The whole
number
time
one.
I was incarcerated, and even the whole time I was out. And the best thing about it, my family never questioned me why I did the crime. They just was like, "You made a mistake.
Yes.
Let's move forward. We don't even want to talk
Yeah.
about why you did it.
Right.
And none of that."
Because you had, it's not like you
were.
were in trouble all the time, you know,
Right.
in and out of the system and all that.
Definitely.
So, you know, you made a mistake. We know also this was your first time voting this year.
Definitely.
You have some story about that, right?
Right, definitely. First of all, I definitely got to give a shout out to Florida Rights Restoration Coalition.
Okay.
And secondly, a shout out to the whole state of Florida and all the Floridians that believed in second chances.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because if it wasn't for Floridians that believed in second chances, Amendment 4 would have never passed.
Yes.
So I got a part of Florida Rights Restoration Coalition early 2014. I
Okay.
started out as a volunteer in the early stages with the petition collecting. And the crazy thing about it, I cared nothing about voting before I was
Until
involved
then,
with-
right?
Until then, because it wasn't a family talk conversation. My mom and my dad, they voted, but
Yeah.
it was just something they did as an adult.
Right,
but
they never even
talked
spoke to the
us
children.
about it or how important it was. So I got a part of it in 2014, and I fell in love with politics, and I understood that voting is the way that we change things. But of course, because I had felony convictions and to live in this state, I had my voting rights stripped away from me before I had them. But
Right.
because of Amendment 4, I was able to get my voting rights back and vote for well, this was my very first presidential election in my whole life. In 2019, I voted in the primaries and the local elections.
Oh my
So
goodness.
what was that experience like?
Yeah.
It felt like walking out of prison.
Oh my God.
It felt like it.
Yeah,
How was walking out of prison?
it was crazy feeling, exciting.
Yeah.
Were you almost scared to step your foot out?
I
Like,
was, to be honest with you, because I didn't know,
Yeah.
like reality.
What's
of it,
next?
What's next? It was like, I think I feel comfortable staying here because you knew in prison what your daily routine was going to be like, but coming home to a big room was
Yes.
like, I
yeah,
don't
you
know
had all
what
your
it's gonna be.
meals. You know, things were, you had everything there for
Right,
you.
definitely.
And now,
I'm on my own again.
It's time to wake up.
Right, scared
Welcome
that I
to
was
the
gonna
real
make
world.
a different
Yeah.
mistake or
Mhm.
end myself back up in the
Yeah.
same situation. So it was a lot of things. And I was depressed as well because that was the same year that I came home that I was supposed to graduate. And I was like, I'm going to be at the lowest of my class.
Right.
So that was a lot of depression that stuck with me for a while when I came home.
But you're okay now?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, good.
I can humbly say I think I'm probably the top 3 of my class right now, but just humbly say
With
that.
everything,
Yeah.
with everything
Definitely.
that you've been through,
Right.
and still you can still say that.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know, I like the verbiage returning citizens. What prompted that change?
So the word returning citizen, it came because strategically, if you call somebody an ex-felon or a convict, statistics shows that that person is likely to go back out and commit another crime or get back incarcerated. So we like to use the word returning citizen.
Mhm.
And then not only that, but it don't dehumanize individuals because
Okay.
you call somebody a felon, it make them feel like
It
they're
does,
a
yeah.
certain type of class of individuals.
Mhm.
Or when you think about felons, you think about the
The
worst
worst.
crime ever.
Right.
But in the state of Florida, you know, you can release 10 balloons in the air and that can get you a felony conviction. So it's like we wanted to change that
All right.
theory.
Oh my gosh.
You're kidding me though, right?
Right now.
No?
You can, and you rarely see anybody getting charged for it, but that is a statute that can make you be a felony conviction if you let go 10 or more
My
balloons
goodness.
in
Oh
the
my
air.
goodness.
Right, so we live in a crazy state.
Okay. Learn
No more
something new every
balloons
day.
releasing, right?
Oh my goodness. Wow. So much. So when you got out, I want to go back to that, you getting out. How was it when your parents, tell me about like your parents, your brothers, how did they react? I know they were coming to visit you and all that.
Right.
But how did they react when you came home?
We had a celebration.
Of
Like
course.
it's like I graduated high school or something. I think most people was just happy to see me because again I was in that area in 2006 and 2008. Juvenile was getting life sentences, 35 years, 45 years, 75 years. So for me to be able to skip that, right? And I think it was timing because I was appointed to a judge that believed in second chances. And every time I come across somebody, it's like, what judge you got? I got Bob Waters, or you lucky, right? But it was even a point where my judge, because he was passing away from cancer,
Okay.
they was trying to change my judge to a judge that didn't
Oh
believe in
no,
second
that was the
chances,
judge you were
right?
supposed to have.
So it was almost like favor and God was with me, like that
Yeah.
lady said that he was with me through the whole time. But my family and my siblings, they were just happy to see me and
Of
embrace that I was
course,
home
of
that time.
course.
So
But do you ask that question in your head? Why me?
when I look at it, right,
Why?
I think that again, God gave his strongest battle to some of his soldiers, and I think he needed me to be able to walk today to be able to share my story and advocate for other people that's in my
Yes.
situation. Because again,
That's
I was
right.
incarcerated with a lot of people that did have a second chance, but again, now they're deceased because of
Yeah,
the path that they went through. And God could have gave that vision to any one of those, but I don't think it probably would have been carried out. And he realized that this is the one that I can use to be
Right.
my instrument. So I
And
look
sure
at it
enough,
like that.
that's exactly what has happened.
Definitely.
And you won't stop.
Right.
No.
And I honestly don't think if I didn't get stopped in my tracks, I wouldn't be here today. I think I would be probably dead or in prison for a longer
that had to
sentence,
happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, wow. So now you've got this big company called the Dirt Master.
Definitely.
The Dirt Master, like you said, you found your passion, and that passion you found basically when you were in prison.
Right.
Who would have thought? Tell us about the Dirt Master.
So yep, the Dirt Master was inspired while I was incarcerated. When I was incarcerated, I was at one of the lowest points of my life. I remember an officer put me in a room full of piss, no clothes, and told me that I'll never amount to anything in life.
Oh my goodness.
Right, and I was like, this is the lowest I'm ever going to be in my life.
Yes.
And from that point, it inspired me. And every time I cleaned when I was incarcerated, it was like, it made me be at peace. And I was like,
Right.
how can I be so peaceful in the midst of this storm?
Cleaning.
Exactly.
By cleaning, and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, if I could do this in here for free, I can start a business out. And I also wanted something that I can be able to pass to other individuals that's coming out from incarceration, some type of business, because you get turned down from a lot of jobs.
Right.
Even if you do get a second chance at jobs, having that felony conviction on your record, it can stop you from being able to get promoted and
Yes.
going to the
It's true.
next level. And it happened to me, but in entrepreneurship, you're not like put a limit on anything.
You're your own
whatever,
boss.
So, definitely.
And you help a lot of people as
Oh,
well.
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
yes.
You help employ a lot of people.
Yep, so we do a lot. This year we're changing the business over to strictly construction cleaning. It's what I found is that the construction industry is more friendly to individuals that's coming out of incarceration.
Okay.
And definitely it's like we can grow in that field, so definitely.
And you've gotten a few major contracts,
Right.
right?
So the biggest contract that we landed was with UCF. I didn't actually have the contract, but I was the project manager, and I oversee
Okay.
all of the cleaners on that project. So we
That's a
basically
big
cleaned
one.
the whole project at UCF. And then secondly, I gained a grant with the Avalon Park Group, where they invested into about $75,000 into my business to help it take it from a small business almost to a corporate level. Because if I keep cleaning myself, it's never the business never going to go reality of it.
Okay.
So they're helping me like completely change my business with marketing, giving me an office space, and just helping me take it to the next level so I can be able to grow and help people in our community. Because when you look at our communities, the only thing we talk about crime, we talk about all of these other things, and really it's not a race thing to me. It's more of an economic thing. It's about
Yeah.
rich and
Okay.
the poor, and we got to be able to try to help supplement some of that income in our communities or create opportunities. So.
Right. You don't talk much about your other job, which is the Florida Rights Restoration.
Right.
I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, again, I started in 2014 as a volunteer, and I worked my way up to now the statewide leadership and chapter coordinator.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So right now we have about 20 chapters across the state that I oversee. Then also I create a lot of our leadership training and content for new members and current members. We're very big on educating because now that we can vote, we want them to be educated about voting and the power of
Very
voting.
good.
So I do a lot of those trainings and overseeing the chapters and building power right there in the local community and try to make change right there.
Keep letting God use you. That's
right.
beautiful.
That's amazing. Since the passing of Amendment 4, what type of response have you gotten from the returning citizens?
A lot, right? So it's all positive responses,
Okay,
right?
good.
The great thing about Amendment 4, it was supported by both sides of the party, Republican and Democrat. We're a nonpartisan organization, so
Okay.
we don't tell people who to vote for or which way to go for. We're just educating them on voting right. But it was said that because of Amendment 4 passed, that returning citizens wasn't going to show up, right? But since the passing of Amendment 4, we had about 50,000 returning citizens that voted in this current election, right?
Okay.
But then also, out of those 50,000, you had 144,000 individuals that stayed in the same household as returning citizens that registered to vote, and 32,000 of those individuals showed up early and voted early. So it's a big response, and it's only
Yes.
growing as we continue to
Yeah.
help returning citizens. So.
Amazing. Awesome.
What would you say to a 15-year-old kid that just wanted to go out and either rob, shoot, kill somebody?
Right.
What would your response be? What would you say?
My response, and I use this a lot, when I'm talking to youth, or even I'm talking to my own boys, is tell them to just think before you do it, because in a split second, it can cost you your life forever. I have plenty of friends that's not here again, that's deceased because of not really thinking, and even myself, it could have been worse to me, and not always you're gonna get that slap on the wrist because that you may not get a second chance from that split decision that you made. So always think.
Think before you do.
Definitely.
And you just blessed,
Yeah.
of course,
Definitely,
because your story could have been a lot worse, but we appreciate you coming out today to share your story and tell young people, older people, not just young people, but older people. You just happen to be young, but there's a lot of older people that do these crimes as well. You've got to think.
Right.
You got to think first.
Definitely do.
We want to have a candid minute with you before we get out of here and ask you, what would you tell another 15-year-old who experienced what you did?
Definitely, I would say to them is look for your passion and look for somebody that you can trust, that can lead you. Don't be scared to ask for advice or be mentored, and it can help you a long ways. And just because you made a mistake before, don't mean that you can't recuperate from it. And don't let your past determine your future.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Well said.
How
you.
can the viewers contact you?
Facebook, my name is Marquis McKenzie Sr., or the Dirt Master CEO on Instagram, or my business page is the Dirt Master LLC, Marquis McKenzie Sr. again.
You have anything upcoming, anything new, anything else that you're thinking to start?
Not just yet, but
Business-wise.
definitely want to continue to grow. I have a nonprofit organization that's
Okay.
called Community Outreach Enterprise.
Okay.
And it's geared toward entrepreneurship, teaching entrepreneurship to at-risk youth who are incarcerated. So we're looking for more mentors or individuals that's been incarcerated, that started their business, and would love to mentor other youth who are incarcerated. So
I love it. Well, you're definitely giving back. That's for
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, servant leader.
Yes.
Love it. Love
Thank
it.
you.
We hope that you'll come back and join us again.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
We want to thank you for joining us this evening. We want you to tune in next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another amazing guest right here from our community. In closing, a quote from Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, says, "Once a person has served their time, they should not be made to continue paying for their past mistakes." Marquis has served his time and completely transformed his life. He states, as a leader, your sole responsibility is to recognize, develop, and pour into other leaders. If you see Marquis in the community, show him some love for canvassing the streets, fighting for returning citizens, and for fully dedicating his time educating and representing our community. We are real sisters, sharing real stories within our community. Thank you for tuning in to Talk About It, the Candid Conversation Show.
Go. Let's go.
Come on, let's have a candid conversation. Let's talk about it. Just bring it up without